Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here today for what will be episode 38 of Banghead Financial. I'm, of course, Greg Guy, joined here by Casey. This particular week, the FOMC,
The POMC.
Federal Open Markets Committee. What did you call that?
POMC.
FOMC. That's actually pretty good. I like that. Yeah. Well, anyway, they had their meeting on the 15th and 16th of this month, and what came out of that meeting was the interest rate, hike discussion, which has been increased by 0.25%. So it basically went from 0.25, so now it's a total of 0.5%. And they have, basically alluded that you're going to see 6 to 7 of these 0.25% increases over the rest of 2022. So that being said, first of all, I will go ahead and say that it's a step in the right direction.
I think it's going to be a while before we start seeing a good direction.
It is. It's like I said. It's a step. I mean, the problem is they don't want to, dump, like a, 0.5%, because they believe that will, discourage people from spending money and, adding to the general economy and everything. Which, it makes sense, but, at the same point in time, I said back in their early January meeting, I was like, you just got to start doing it now, but they didn't do anything, and then, the inflation numbers went from, I want to say it was 7.1% to 7.9% over the course of 2 months.
I think at some point you see that writing on the wall, and it's hard to believe, but at some point you're going to have to face the music and see the things that are actually happening right now.
And I've been saying this for quite a decent amount of time. I was like, it's going to be painful in the short term, but long term.
I'm hearing all around that investing in something right now is probably the best bet, because their actual money is going to start losing value. So holding a property or a certain type of stock, or maybe a cryptocurrency,
because of inflation,
is a better bet than holding on to your money.
That is 100% correct. Yeah, well, I 100% agree with that assessment.
Right.
Not financial advice.
No.
Experts also believe that until the interest rate, which is, I don't necessarily know that. I mean, the meeting happened this past week. I don't necessarily know if it has already gone into effect with that 0.25% hike, but experts believe that overall interest rate is going to have to get up to 4 to 5% before we even start seeing the inflation numbers start to come down. So how much more, my question is this, how much more is it going to go up before we start to see it curve itself down?
I don't see them changing interest rates really affecting inflation, or affecting inflation at this point.
It does.
I think it has more to do with basically the financial environment, the resources available, and basically the how the economy is working right now. And I was listening to something the other day, which I don't remember which. It was a billionaire, and he was basically stating that if you want to define currency, then you should define it as energy. Currency is energy in the workplace. You create money through energy. I'll have to let you.
Don't remember who that was?
I'll have to let you listen to the podcast. Maybe you have.
I'll have to. Yeah, we'll discuss that later. But in on a brighter side, beings that the FOMC, the Federal Open Markets Committee, basically, a committee, from the Fed, they have a plan moving forward. So, my question is, are we going to start to see the markets wake up? I personally believe we will.
I think certain markets are going to wake up. You have to be picky about what you choose. I think if you are going to invest, I don't want to give any advice on to what you should invest in.
Not financial advice.
No.
Do your own diligence.
But as I've stated before, I think you're better off with property, maybe crypto, like a strong crypto, like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum. Invest in something that will hold its value through a time of turmoil.
100% agree. I'm glad you brought up Bitcoin because our next bit of news. The United States Treasury Department over, this past week has released 3 separate reports. Basically, finally breaking the narrative that, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are used for money laundering and other illicit activities. They have totally debunked this thought, and that is one of the main arguments against cryptocurrencies, is that it could be used for, money laundering and illegal activities.
I think that some cryptos could. I think all currency can be used for those type of activities.
Actually, and they didn't necessarily state it in the report, but I think they realized that the U.S. dollar is used for more of that than any other currency.
Well, obviously.
Out there.
Well, it's in the entire world. The dollar right now is the currency that can be more traded throughout the world than any other currency. So, just by stating that fact, you're going to find that more illegal activity occurs with the U.S. dollar than any other currency. And I don't think it has anything to do with the currency specifically. It's just the fact that it's used more often.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment, but also, that makes you think about the story about like those. I think it was Bitfinex, hackers that stole like a whole lot of Bitcoin back in the day,
right.
And the FBI caught them because every transaction is traceable on a blockchain.
Right.
And I think that is what made them realize, it was like, okay, this is how we catch people.
Well, now that I never really thought of it that way, but I guess it would make criminal activity more difficult through a cryptocurrency.
Any intelligent criminal would just not use that at all.
Right. Just under the table cash. If you went completely on a cryptocurrency, you would not even be. The government would be able to track every time money moved, and in that case, there would all those people that work for under the table jobs and stuff like that. That would basically come to an end unless you're going to call it a gift.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point I hadn't even thought about. Oh man, that might be a discussion for a different day.
Not to mention you got to think about the people, the waiters and the waitresses too. If you pay a waitress like tip them in cash, right? Generally speaking, they don't really have to claim any or all of that. They can just say you walked out without tipping, and then they wouldn't have to worry about paying taxes on it.
It's true.
And I'm sure that happens a lot more than you would think it would, but I completely understand why. It's basically like an under the table monetary transaction.
Right. Agreed. And the only other thing that is going on this week, and I'm going to be straight up front with you. This section might actually get cut out of the end financial. So,
What, this section right here?
what's about to
Oh,
what we're about to talk about.
Okay, all right.
Apparently, Xi Jinping, am I saying that right? Zhang,
I don't care.
the Chinese president guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, he met with the, I guess, king or prince of Saudi Arabia.
Right.
And there is a distinct possibility that they might start selling oil for the yuan. Is that how you say that?
That would
instead of the U.S. dollar, because right now China trades all their oil in U.S. dollars.
It wouldn't be the completely end of the petrodollar.
No, it wouldn't. But it would be
definitely,
the beginning.
It would definitely weaken the petrodollar. And if all the countries, the only way it would work is if all the oil creating companies decided all together that they are no longer going to trade using the dollar. They're going to trade
US
using
dollars.
the thing. So at this point, it appears that there's probably going to be segments. So there's probably going to be certain countries that are going to trade with the petrodollar, and there's going to be certain countries that trade with the what's the
yuan.
The yuan.
I believe that's how you say it. Anyway.
Right. And I don't know which one or other holds value better. I'm gonna guess that the U.S. dollar probably does.
I actually doubt that right now, because the way our inflation is going, with 40% of the money being printed over the past 2 years, the money in circulation.
Right.
So our currency is just super inflated. So
so is the Chinese yuan.
I haven't done any research
because that country is
on it,
basically built on stilts. I mean, you look at the issues they had with their housing market.
Well, there has to be some sort of fundamental, behind it, because Saudi Arabia is one of the largest oil producing countries in the world.
I understand that.
And if they're even contemplating this, even discussing it, that's a huge thing.
Well, I mean,
that means they don't want U.S. dollars, in my opinion.
I think they want all the dollars. I think all the dollars isn't. They want money, and that's if they can get.
But I mean, they have to be looking at it from, like I said, once again, in my opinion, from the perspective that with inflation, the U.S. dollar is losing its value.
Right.
So why are we going to make a country which basically accounts for 25% of the world GDP use the U.S. dollar to buy oil from us?
Well, at the very least, you can say that the yuan and the dollar are pretty much on the same level right now. They're scalable to be both worthy currencies that a country is willing to accept.
Okay. I mean, yeah, if that's an assessment, but it didn't used to be like that.
Right. It didn't used to be like that. I mean, things are changing, and obviously everybody in the world can see it right now. Things are changing. How drastic is the change going to be? It makes everybody uncomfortable because people just in general don't like change.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that assessment. So, all right, there, ladies and gentlemen. It'd be episode 38, was it?
Yeah, something.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
Bang Financial. I'm of course Barry Guy, joined here by Mr. Casey. Everyone out there watching, enjoy the rest of your day.